team or to the presenters as they work through their presentation this evening. We are slated to be about 45 minutes with hopefully a few minutes at the end for some additional questions if we have them come in. And with that, I am going to pass it off to both Chuck and Camille.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having us here. I'm Chuck Lydiard with the University of Delaware. It's based in Newark, Delaware, but just like my colleague Camille, I live in California. In fact, I'm based in Southern California in Long Beach, and I've been in college admissions for 8 years, and I'm eager to present with you and hope to share you some good information on this topic.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Camille Kreitz, and I am with Syracuse University, which is located in Central New York, Syracuse, New York. And I am also based here in Southern California in the Los Angeles area. And I have been with Syracuse for about 30 years and in the admissions office for about 6 years. So I'm happy to be here. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about the undecided major. We're going to talk about searching for your choosing a major, choosing a career path. So this is sort of our agenda here as to what we're going to cover during tonight's presentation. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A. So first of all, I just want to tell everybody, take a deep breath. If you haven't decided what you want to major in, don't worry. It is the most common major, undecided, of any of the majors. So if you haven't decided yet, you are definitely able to do that. You don't need to know right now what you're going to do for the rest of your life. College is really the time for you to take those classes that you've never heard of, do some exploration, kind of do things out of your comfort zone and figure out what it is that you want to do. You don't need to do that now as a 16 or a 17-year-old. There are all kinds of jobs and careers that exist that you don't even know about yet. There are some jobs and careers that don't even exist yet that will exist in the next 5 years. So you'll find out about those when you get to college. And if you do have more than one interest, you want to start thinking about ways that you can combine those interests too. You don't want to necessarily pigeonhole yourself. So, you know, think about the option of maybe double majoring or majoring and minoring in a couple of different things as well. Go ahead. So what do you need to be thinking about? The things that you want to think about as far as kind of figuring out your path is, first of all, what are the kind of classes that you are most passionate about? What are those classes that when the bell rings, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe the bell already rang. I can't believe class is already over. Think about those classes and think about, you know, what those classes could, what direction they could kind of point you in. What are your favorite activities? Are they academic activities? Are they athletic activities? Is it reading? Whatever that is. Do you love to just go out with your friends? Do you like to sing? I mean, whatever that is, think about those as well. The kinds of articles that you read or blogs or, you know, the music you listen to on Spotify. What are the things that you like to read, that you like to listen to? What kind of stands out to you? What kind of grabs your interest? And then what are your personal characteristics? Are you creative? Or do you prefer structure? Are you more entrepreneurial? Are you always coming up with new ideas and new things to do? Do you like to work by yourself, or do you prefer to have somebody kind of giving you direction? So those are also things that you want to think about when you're looking at career choices or major choices. And then what are you good at? Sometimes what you're good at is not necessarily what you like the most. You might be, you know, really good. I had a friend who was a great golfer, but he really loved baseball. He was recruited for golf, but he just wanted to play baseball. So, you know, think about what you're good at and then what challenges you. So the things that challenge you are those things that are going to keep you interested. If something comes too easily to you, you're going to get bored. So you want to look at the things that challenge you, whether that's a particular subject or some kind of a theory, whatever that is. And then also think about what are the accomplishments that have made you most proud. Those are the things that are really important to you. If you can figure out what makes you proud, what you enjoy doing the most, then that's really kind of the direction that you want to put yourself into. Go ahead, Chuck. So think about your dream. Think about yourself in 10 or 12 years from now. Maybe you're 27, 28 years old. Think about where you see yourself, maybe geographically and also, family-wise, but also what do you see yourself doing? So maybe you want to be an astronaut. Maybe you could see yourself going to Mars or being an anchor on a news station or working in a laboratory or teaching. Think about, what you see yourself doing in the future, and then you can kind of work your way backwards. Go ahead. Also, what do your parents and your siblings do? So this is something that I talk to students a lot about, because a lot of students also, either they follow in their parents or their siblings' footsteps, or there might also be a family business. So if there is a family business, do you have ideas for how to make that family business grow? Maybe you want to bring that family business into the 21st century, create a website, do more data analysis, more market analysis for that business, create a larger market, whatever that is. If your parents don't own a business, but maybe you are still following in their footsteps, have you been able to intern with them or visit the office with them or go on business trips with them, sit in on meetings? Those are the kind of things that will sort of help guide you as to whether that's something that you also want to follow as far as a possible career goes. Go ahead. Okay, so let's look at these things. So what are you good at? If you are particularly good in math, what can you do? There are so many things that you can do with each of your skills. So think about math. It's not just about being a math teacher or being an engineer, but those are definitely possibilities. What about information technology and data management? In this day and age, every time you do anything, you get a survey, right? So that's all about data management. It's all about analytics. So if that sort of thing might interest you, and you're good with numbers, then think about that. Sports analytics is another, it's a growing field. And again, it's all about, you have to be strong in math, you have to like the analytics, but anytime you're listening to a game on TV or the radio or whatever, it's always about the stats and the analytics. So that's another option. Or accounting, finance. Maybe you're into business. So the number side of the business, the finance, investments, accounting. So just because you're good with numbers, you have a myriad choice of things and directions that you can go in. So don't limit yourself with the things you think you can do, but kind of do some research and find out what are your possibilities just because of this one trait that you have. Go ahead. The other thing is, what do you like to do? As I said, it's not always the same what you're good at and what you like to do. But for example, let's say you love to travel. Wouldn't it be cool to find a career where you would be able to travel, either living abroad or working abroad, or doing a lot of traveling? So what are those careers? International relations and diplomacy, international law, foreign languages, business, literature and translation, history. All of these things are things that you can study, and you can maybe even study them overseas. And once you graduate, you can find jobs where you can work overseas. Part of my career at Syracuse, I studied international relations, and I ended up working for Syracuse University overseas for many, many years. So, and most of my friends that lived in Italy were art historians. They studied literature, they were business people, they studied foreign languages. So any of those things can bring you to an overseas career if that's something that interests you. But again, think about what you like to do and then figure out how you can get there. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Camille. I'm going to talk a little bit about the power of self-discovery. And as Camille mentioned, absolutely, there's a lot going on in your life right now. And the fact is that you're here. And when I talk to students, either virtually or the times we were allowed to do it in person, and the students then come up to me and they say, you know what, I'm undecided, I have no idea. I give them a high five because a lot of times it takes a lot of courage just to say, you know what, you're not sure yet. And I guarantee you, and I'll show you a good slide later on showing you some data that people do change their minds even when they're in college, is most students actually don't know, or they change their mind once they get to college. But the fact is, you have also amazing counseling resources at your schools and with Futurology. So by all means, if you do want to get started a little bit earlier in high school, certainly go and reach out. They have a lot of great resources too, but the ones that I'm going to share with you here are not only free, but it's something that I've been around for quite a few years, and a lot of students and parents actually like these resources for self-discovery. So the first one here, and I'm not sure if Futurology uses this, but this is a free resource for high school students, is Corsava. At some point, you're going to be beginning the college search process. It could be your freshman, but most likely your sophomore, junior year. If you're a little bit later in the process, the beginning of your senior year now. But Corsava, it asks you in about a 10 to 15 minute personal assessment, many different questions on what you would like to have in your potential college or university, focused on these 6 characteristics. And it uses gamification to kind of ask you, is it a must-have? Is it something you really don't care about, or it'd be nice if it was there, or completely, I don't want anything to do with that particular attribute? But what it does is it develops in 15 minutes a Corsava report to kind of visually see the things that initially stand out to you. So in some ways, when we're talking about the undecided major, obviously there's a lot of different majors out there that could interest you. You're gonna be able to see all these potentially on one page, but then if you look at the blue boxes, when they talk about collaborative environment, hands-on learning, those are how you're actually going to be taught. What is important to you? And keep in mind, when I always tell students about Corsava, there is no such thing as a perfect college. And if you have so many things on your must-have list, you might be doing yourself a disservice, because there's no one college that's going to have all 30 of these things here. But this is an initial good starting point. And as you can see, you can list things, it would be nice if you have this, but if not, no worries. The good thing is with Corsava is you can always go back and take it again. It doesn't take too long, and you can share it with your parents, you can share it with your counselor, anyone that might be giving you advice. But another one, if I'm pretty positive Futurology does have many resources like 16 personalities, but a personality test that is free like this and many others would be another great place for you to start. 16 personalities takes about 15 to 20 minutes as well. 12 minutes actually, it just depends how quickly you take this. And I really like the fact that it breaks down and gives you percentages based on these 5 different characteristics on how much you actually engage or relate to the mind, nature, tactics, identity. But as you go through it, it gives you a great snapshot and overview through this summary. And it gives you a chance to explore the type you have. And there are some fun things on here, by all means. They don't all relate to college. They don't all relate to majors, but there are some things on there that'd be fun to kind of find out. But the 3 things that with 16 personalities that I really think are positive are strengths and weaknesses, career paths, and workplace habits. And this is what I challenge every one of you here. Every one of you here is either a student that might have multiple interests and have no idea what you want to study, or you're a parent of a son or daughter that is in that same boat. As you're developing your college list, if you have multiple interests in majors or in industries, I highly, highly encourage you to keep a separate list of these interests. And every time that you go and address your college list, if that is every month, every 2 months, however it is, if you're a sophomore or a junior, you may not be doing it as much, but every 2 or 3 months, if you have some time, go back, look at your experiences in high school, look at the clubs and organizations you've been involved in. What are the courses, like Camille mentioned, that really just you lose track of time in and you really love being in it, and do a little bit of exploration. Talk to your teachers in those areas and say, hey, you know what are some potential majors or careers do you think, if I like physics, what do you think I could potentially look at? And keep a written list of these options. But as the title of this session has alluded to, you don't need to feel ashamed or lost if you're undecided at this point here, because we're going to highlight at both our universities afterwards, but I'm confident in most college and universities, it doesn't really matter exactly. For a majority of professions out there, it does not necessarily matter what you major in high school. Now, true, there are some health sciences and engineering fields that you have to have certain certifications to actually be involved in. And trust me, you're going to want to go to a hospital that has a surgeon that went to medical school, or you want to have an architect that went to architectural school if they're working on a bridge for your city. But it's very, very interesting that, as Camille mentioned, there's a lot of jobs out there that haven't been invented yet. Like social media manager, almost every mid to large business has one, if not multiple, professionals working in this field. That wasn't around 7 to 10 years ago. We have majors now specifically for that. And just keep in mind that as you continue to grow and develop here, to keep asking questions, not only yourself, but also if you're a high school senior, what colleges on my list will allow me to explore? And this is that slide I was telling you about, because a lot of students sometimes, if they're good in STEM, they might be looking right away into STEM fields. And for many, that's great. But as you can see here, this is Inside Higher Education. It's a publication that us in the College Admissions Counselors world do highly refer to for public or for professional development. And as you can see, those that directly go into STEM fields as a first-year college student, mathematics, over about half actually change and tweak their major and go into some other field. Now, it might be a slight tweak, or it could be a complete opposite change. And you do definitely see that the humanities fields don't have that as many people changing their minds. So just keep in mind, that doesn't mean that you need to go to liberal arts or you need to go into STEM focused majors, but just keep in mind, it is okay if you don't know what you want to do at this point in time. But I always encourage you, talk about, by having 2 different lists of industries and majors as well as colleges, when you go to a virtual college fair, or hopefully in the near future, an in-person college fair or high school visit, ask a particular college admissions counselor, you know what, these are my interests. Can you tell me more about students who have had interests like this, or could I easily navigate and change my mind if I wanted to? For the students here that just completely have no idea what they want to do, I'm a big fan of looking ahead, especially about how automation and robotics are coming and interplaying in their life right away. And it's really, you're seeing this case in point in this pandemic. And a lot of times people are a little nervous that, am I going to invest in college and then have my career, my job being replaced by a robot? These are 5 skills, 5 talents that if you completely don't know what major you want to have, maybe in high school and even in college, finding a way to enhance feeling skills, seeing, dreaming, applied imagination, entrepreneurship, systems thinking, creativity, finding a place to do that. These are essential skills that robots are not going to be able to take over and completely replace us. The last one here I think is very, very important. Learning how to learn. When you go to college, you just don't stop learning. Every couple of years, a lot of the digital resources and systems that we have are completely upgraded, are changed. You need to keep learning a lot of these skills. So learning how to learn is important, but also learning what reliable resources are there. What is reliable sources, what is not. I think it's very important as a high school student that you could use, but certainly you're going to carry with the rest of your life.
Alrighty, so let's talk about the freshman experiment. Next slide, please. When you are a freshman, when I talk about the freshman experiment, what I mean is taking those liberal arts courses that you never had heard of before. taking those things out of your comfort zone. I can remember as a freshman, I went in undeclared thinking I was going to study classics possibly, and I took a political science class and I took an economics class as a general ed requirement, and I ended up majoring in international relations and economics. So I had never heard of those classes before. I really didn't know what they were all about. So be open, be willing to sort of take classes out of your comfort zone and try new things that you've maybe never even heard of before. So when you are trying to figure out what you want to do, a good way to do that is by working backwards. So what I mean by that is picture a goal and then figure out how to achieve that goal. Go ahead, Chuck. So the first thing you can do is when you're looking at college websites, you can read through the major profiles, for example. You can look at the course descriptions and look at how specialized the majors are and how interdisciplinary they are. So if you're looking at a course description for a major, you're looking at a couple of the course descriptions and you're thinking, oh my God, these courses sound so interesting. Or on the flip side, these courses sound so boring. That will automatically kind of start to draw you towards certain courses and certain majors. If you have a lot of different ideas about what you want to study, maybe you have 3 or 4 different things. Maybe you have 3 or 4 different languages you want to study. And so you can't just major in French because you also want to study Spanish and Italian. Well, you can find those as interdisciplinary majors, like maybe a Romance languages major that allows you to study more languages within one major. Or the major that I followed, international relations, I loved it because I studied history, political science, economics, and languages. It was very interdisciplinary. And so that really allowed me to sort of branch out and do a couple of different things that I really liked. So you don't always need to pigeonhole yourself into one very specific, major, unless it's something like Chuck mentioned. If you are going to do some sort of a professional degree like engineering or architecture, but that doesn't mean that you can't also have other interests and maybe pick up a minor along the way as well. So many of the major profiles on college websites also list careers that students who have graduated are now in. So you can look at the careers and say, that sounds like a really cool career. I'd really be interested in doing something like that. What did they major in? So that's what I mean by working backwards. Looking at the careers of, people that you know, parents of friends, your teachers, somebody in the media. Look and see what their careers are like. And then if that's something that interests you, find out, Google them, talk to them, find out what they studied, what their career path was. Another thing is when you are looking at websites or you're talking to people or looking at brochures, don't get hung up necessarily on the titles, because a lot of schools call different majors different things. So if you are looking for a kinesiology major, just be aware that not every school will call it kinesiology. They might call it health and exercise science, for example. So you don't want to kind of cut yourself off when you're doing that research about different majors, because it might kind of open up a whole nother realm of information that you weren't even aware existed, because you're opening your mind also to different titles. So just be aware of that when you're looking at college websites. Go ahead. Okay, next. Yes, thank you. Okay, some other examples. Does anybody even know what information management majors do? Well, if you look at some of the careers on college websites, some of the careers are web designers, network administrators, business analysts. And as Chuck said, some of these jobs did not exist 5, 10, 15 years ago. Political communications, that's another one. What does that really mean? What does that entail, and what kind of jobs would you get with that? Well, some of the examples I found on some websites are campaign manager, speechwriter, or legislator. So if you look at the jobs at the end of the tunnel and see, what students are doing with those particular majors, then that can help you make your decision about your major eventually. And again, that's not something you need to do now, but as you're, once you get to school, once you're in your freshman year, you can start doing that, talking to your advisor, talking to your professors, talking to fellow students too in those majors, and what kind of internships are they doing? Wow, that sounds really neat. Maybe I'll take a look at that major because that's kind of the field I think I might want to go into. So those are the sort of things that you want to do, working your way backwards. Go ahead. Okay.
And one thing I'll just add about working yourself backwards is take a look at the faculty at these colleges. Look at their dissertations. What did they focus on? Because in my opinion, take business administration or management, sometimes you might find that a lot of those first or second year courses might look very, very similar across many different colleges and universities, but it's the faculty, the professors that are there that have specialized in unique areas that eventually are teaching some unique, fun courses are really the amazing assets that each university has, and it's unique. But I'm going to jump into a tool that most students here probably have heard of but aren't on, most likely because they feel it is their parents' social media platform. But let me hopefully persuade you to look at LinkedIn a little bit differently if you're a high school student. There is this great tool called the LinkedIn Alumni Tool, and you could use this to essentially look at career ladders, skills from professionals from all around the world. But not only that, it's essentially resumes that never sleep. So you can definitely see where these professionals went to college, but also too, you can see what they majored in and also see perhaps what different career paths look like, especially if you have multiple different interests. And let me show you why. First of all, you have to be 16 years old. So if you're under 16, wait till you're 16. And then Google LinkedIn profile checklist for high school students. You're going to get this 2-page PDF. And it literally tells you from start to finish how to set up your profile. And until you're comfortable, I really would recommend keeping your profile private. But when I tell you how you could utilize this to research careers in colleges, you're going to want to make it public. But for those seniors that have already started looking at the Common Application, you might see that some of these categories are very similar to what the Common Application is actually asking you. And just like the Common Application, where you don't have a lot of space to put a lot of descriptions of your activities, your skills, your awards, you don't want to just copy and paste paragraphs of what you're doing into essentially your living resume on LinkedIn. You want to focus on outcomes. You want to focus on tangible skills that you develop through these unique activities that you've had. But by all means, I encourage you, you have done a lot up to this point here in high school. And so don't feel like you have to have been paid or have been employed to list something on LinkedIn. Clubs, organizations, volunteer work, by all means, you can put this here. And this, again, I feel some good practice for the Common Application. Another resource that you could have is the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Occupational Outlook Handbook. I will tell you this, that there's a lot of information on this website, but looking at specific trends in larger group industries is very, very important. And one thing is, especially if you are looking at median pay, let me go back here. Median pay, type of higher education requirements, number of job outlooks for the future, make sure you're looking and considering majors and careers that hopefully are on the upswing. And one thing that I will mention here is certain majors, certain careers, certain industries could be prevalent all around the United States, but especially in certain areas, you might find that colleges and universities that might be hotbeds for certain industries, maybe biopharmaceuticals perhaps, maybe it is engineering, maybe it is solar engineering. You're gonna find that not only does those industries have great partnerships with college universities, but a lot of them, they're really strong with the college universities that are in their back door. They're coming on those particular college universities to serve as guest speakers. They're inviting students who are currently interested in those fields to shadow their professionals, maybe internships, entry-level jobs. But let me tell you, if you're only looking at one state, by all means, you could very well find some great opportunities, but you might also find some unique college universities that might have connections with different industries that you will certainly, you'll find that might benefit you when you're at that particular college. I invite anyone here that wants to look at LinkedIn a little bit more in depth and follow up with me. I can send you a PDF of a presentation I gave, because essentially within it, we didn't have enough time to go through it fully. But you could essentially put in the search function, if you have a LinkedIn account, any college or university, there's even international schools that are on LinkedIn, and locate all of the LinkedIn members that are a graduate, either a bachelor's or a master's or above degree of that university. You can actually learn a lot of stuff about them. You can do quick filters based on perhaps Orange County, Los Angeles, and you can see specific unique titles of different professionals. Let's take engineering. A lot of times I like to show the example of University of Delaware's connections to SpaceX. We have 3 or 4 mechanical engineers that work in Hawthorne for SpaceX, and you get to kind of see their unique career ladder. And then what I would definitely suggest is looking at that resume that is public information to any LinkedIn profile member. You can kind of see what different companies have worked at. You can see if they're a recent graduate of a university, if they had any internship opportunities at that university. So, as a college admissions counselor, I'm always going to boast about Delaware's unique internship opportunities, but this is another validation for a variety of different colleges and universities. In addition, just like any other social media platform, you're going to be able to follow organizations or have different interests on LinkedIn. So again, when I mentioned about learning how to learn, a lot of these organizations that professionals follow on LinkedIn are certainly valid resources where they go for professional development. So again, if you're extra curious, you want to get started early, you can find, basically, once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to navigate and find some great professional organizations that have free resources for anyone that want to learn more about that field. But I would encourage you, if you do get on LinkedIn, create your profile and start looking at the colleges you're looking to apply to. Type in and do an alumni search on LinkedIn for those colleges, for those majors, those industries you're interested in, and kind of see what professionals might be around in your area. And I think you might be amazed on, there are some great schools out there that you never thought might be a pathway for certain industries, certain companies and careers. Well, being that we want to give some time for Q&A, I'm just going to give you a few nuggets about the University of Delaware. That's the university I represent. We're the flagship Tier 1 research school in Newark, Delaware. Working a lot as I live here in California, I try to compare University of Delaware to the major flagship institution that we have here in California, the UC system, albeit we only have one in Delaware. And I think that there are a lot of the characteristics similar between our university and that of UC Davis, in that I really feel Davis, more so than any of the other UCs, embodies more of a college town. It's close to the same size that we have at the University of Delaware. It's a little bit larger. At Delaware, we are at 18,000 undergraduates and just 6,000 graduate students. So it's technically a large school, but it's on the lower end. And 3/4 of our total students are undergraduates, and it is predominantly an undergraduate focused university. Although being a Tier 1 research school, we have many different opportunities in all 8 of our colleges for our students to focus on. But look at the area around us. A lot of times students are considering going to the Mid-Atlantic, and Delaware is just one of those weird shaped states. It kind of looks like Idaho on the East Coast. It's really close to the ocean. So believe it or not, we're a destination place for the earth, ocean, and environment. Marine biology, oceanography. We have 100,000 acres of coastal wetlands in the state of Delaware. Very quickly here, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City. Those are the 4 major East Coast cities that we're conveniently located to, giving our students a lot of social and academic urban options. But 45-minute drive from Philadelphia. We're also on the I-95 corridor, which essentially from Maine to Florida is the major interstate, kind of like the 4 or 5 or the 5 here. But we're not an urban campus. We're a real traditional college town. We have just 33,000 residents in Newark, Delaware. A large part of our the focus is on our green space, which is called the Green. It goes from the north to south of our campus. But a lot of those buildings you're looking at is times a lot of our students think about an East Coast classic, that Georgian architecture, the white columns. 2 blocks behind that main building, we have a main street that intersects our quad that has 80 different unique boutiques, restaurants, and shops. If you've ever been to Old Town Pasadena or Orange, where Chapman is, I really feel that I get the same feeling in those cities as I do walking on Main Street. There's 80 different little unique shops and eateries that are a 15-minute walk from the center of campus, and gives our students a lot of room to spread out. As I mentioned, flagship institution in the state of Delaware, we have a lot of major opportunities, 8 different colleges. Most students on the West Coast know us for our College of Health Sciences, Engineering, and Business. We're the #1 rated physical therapy school in the nation. Direct entry nursing is our most competitive program. But within engineering, specifically chemical engineering, we've had Dow and DuPont in our backyard since the 1970s. So they've been an integral part of our campus. Biomedical engineering is purposely small, so I do classify that and mechanical engineering as some of the other more competitive majors. One cool thing, especially at this time, we just got an $8 million grant with our biomedical and chemical engineering undergraduates to build and to hopefully be successful with a COVID vaccine. We actually are a part of the group called NIMBL. It's spelled NIIMBL. It stands for the National Institute for the Innovation of the Manufacturing of Biopharmaceuticals. So, little known fact, Delaware in itself is known as the corporation state because we have the lowest corporate tax laws out of any other state in the nation. And we actually have a lot of biopharmaceutical groups that are in Wilmington, just 10 minutes north of our campus. So NIMBL is a cohort of 150 groups, half of them universities, half of them NGOs, and we're the lead research school that is not only inventing new medicines to fight disease, but also, once they've been approved by the FDA, mass production for market. So we've already had undergraduates in biomedical and chemical engineering that have their name on potential drug patents to fight brain tumors. But we're just not about health science. We're just not about STEM and engineering. We actually, 20% of our students come in each year as university studies students, meaning they have multiple interests. And that's why we're here. We're talking about the undecided students. So one thing is, our 10 advisors for our university studies students aren't in a different college. We have our own advising group for those students, because any student can be admitted into any of our majors, but there's sometimes, like that graph mentioned, people change their minds, so they can come back and go into university studies afterwards and then find their path. But other big programs, we've had JP Morgan Chase on our campus for the past 5 years. So business is huge, psychology, education. We're a great place for veterinary science as well, ecology, wildlife conservation, art conservation too. We have a very great honors college. There's sometimes students that are looking to go to the East Coast, but maybe go to smaller colleges because they might feel that 18,000 undergraduates might be too large for them. We have this great honors college that takes 600 students amongst our first 4,400 each year for our students in a more enriched academic experience. But keep in mind, we might have classes that are outside of honors that might be at 175, 190, but overall, our average class size on our campus is 35. So keep in mind that as you progress, whatever your degree path may be, you're gonna find that you're gonna have a lot of engagement with your professors, whether or not you're in an honors college or not. You will definitely be challenged academically at Delaware. I want you, if you're definitely interested, not only in Delaware, but I know Syracuse has a QR code as well. You could definitely just take out your phone, scan this. It will take you on how to get on our inquiry list. I'm based in Southern California, not too far away from you. I do offer 20-minute one-on-one appointments if you just want to learn more, if you have any questions about our application process. I encourage you to reach out. There's my email. Take a screenshot, get a QR code. But I'm now going to take my video off until Q&A, and I'm going to hand it over to Camille with Syracuse.
Thank you, Chuck. Okay, so as Chuck mentioned, there's my QR code as well. If you want to just put your camera up to that, it'll bring you to the registration form. So Syracuse is in central New York State. As I mentioned, it's a mid-sized university. We have about 15,000 undergraduate students. It's not just a little college town. We do have a population of about 700,000. We have an airport very close to campus, so very easy to fly in and out of. From California, it'll be one connection somewhere from Denver on east, any of the larger cities. It is a residential campus. Students live on campus their first 2 years, and they can choose to live on or off campus their junior or senior year. Go ahead. So we do have a very diverse campus. We have students from all 50 states, 170 countries. We have over 300 clubs and organizations, starting with our D1 sports. We have club and intramural sports, every kind of club and organization. We have Greek life. We are also a Tier 1 research institute, so we have all kinds of different clubs that go along with that. Lots of activities on campus, both on campus and in the city. Go ahead, Chuck. So I mentioned we're a Tier 1 research institute. We really focus on experiential style learning. So research, and we encourage undergraduate students to do their research projects. We actually have a fund specifically to fund undergraduate research. Also internships. A lot of our majors require internships or co-ops. And of course, we help students find those. When students arrive at Syracuse, they are assigned not only an academic advisor, but also a career advisor. So they have a career advisor that follows them every step of the way from freshman year on until after they graduate. Another thing we have is a big study abroad program, and we've been doing that for about 150. We've been doing that since the 1950s. We have 6 of our own programs around the world, and then we partner with local universities in over 60 countries. So well over half of our students are studying abroad. Almost all of our students will do an internship at some point during their 4 years, and a lot of students are also doing research. So very much a hands-on. We're not a competitive school. We don't grade on the curve. It's more of a collaborative effort at Syracuse University. Go ahead. So we have 9 different colleges. As I mentioned, our population is about 15,000, but because we have 9 colleges, that goes down into a funnel shape. So as you're in your college, in your academic career, you are actually in a smaller situation. It feels like you're in a smaller school. Our average class size is actually 26 with a student to teacher ratio of 15:1. So students will apply to specific colleges, and then they'll be in those smaller atmospheres, but knowing that they have everything that the larger school, the larger university has to offer them. So we, as you can see from our rankings here, a lot of our colleges are ranked in the top rankings from number 1 all the way up, you know, to 18. Or actually, some of these are old already. Our film program is actually ranked number 16 now. So a lot of highly ranked schools in architecture, communications, television, radio, film, education, engineering, business, et cetera, et cetera. Go ahead. And then finally, just we are a Common App school. We are a private university, but we do end up funding about 75% of our students through merit scholarships and through financial aid. And merit scholarships are automatic. You don't need to apply for them. You don't need to apply early. When you apply to Syracuse, you're automatically considered for merit. This year, we are test optional. So for those of you who are seniors, you know, be sure that, you know, we won't be looking at your tests if you don't want us to. And we also offer admissions interviews, and we're doing those. We've been doing those since the summer. So if you are interested in an interview, and I highly encourage it this year because we are test optional, you can do that as well. And you can find out that information if you just clicked on that QR code. Okay, so that was a quick overview. So now we will open it up to questions. If we have any questions in our Q&A.
Hi guys, we actually don't have too many more questions for this evening. So
Okay.
I want to highlight some additional resources that connect to everything that you guys just described that are a part of our Futurology program and team as well. So everyone who's still with us, thank you guys so much for staying on to listen to all of the amazing resources that both Chuck and Camille were able to provide. One thing that I want to highlight is one of our infographics that we use as a part of a lot of our presentations and workshops. This infographic, if you guys have ever come to a Futurology event, you've probably seen. It's updated pretty regularly, but it discusses the stages and how you move throughout this type of cycle of self-discovery that both Chuck and Camille highlighted. So in both the first few stages, we really want students to work through understanding what their preferences are and where they can best find those prospects. For our Futurology team moving into the springtime, we have 2 different workshops that actually utilize a few different assessments and some career profiles that we use. We do use Corsava, Chuck, which is a really awesome resource. It is free, so students, if you're interested in that resource, this slide presentation will be uploaded on our website at the end of the week. But that workshop is actually called our College List Jumpstart, where we talk about major options. We talk about what schools tend to have more fluidity in having you guys be able to change your major or be able to look at different degree programs. Exploration and pathways, and then moving on to education and training is really exactly what Chuck and Camille already described. So understanding what options are out there for you, and then how do you get there, and what is the best school that's going to be the best fit for you in terms of all of the options that you're considering. I will say for some of our students who are on this presentation now who are really undecided, one thing that I always recommend or challenge our students to do is to, as they're building their career or major list, is to try and find in this new world and environment of work, 1 of 3 options to include as a part of their career list. So something non-traditional to your gender identity, something that could be remote or freelance work, and an option that could be involved with the aging community within our country. Our population is aging, and so there will be unlimited job opportunities and new positions that will be created in the next 10 to 15 years based on that population. So those are just some highlights based on our program at Futurology. I do have some connections for you, Camille and Chuck, and I'm happy to pass those along to you. If there are no other questions, I want to thank you both so much for your time and for being here to support our students as they maneuver through what could be a pretty big decision. And I think it's really amazing that you were able to highlight that most students have a difficult time with this and aren't completely sure with what they'd like to do. If you guys have any final thoughts on that, please feel free to add. And I'm just going to pull up our quick little survey for our students to complete before we exit tonight.
Camille, I want to address, there's a question regarding if you are able to connect by phone and Zoom. So if you want to go ahead and do a final thought and address that, go ahead.
Right, I did answer it, but I'm absolutely available. I put in my email address there as well. So please, anybody who is interested in talking to me, just reach out to me by email and we can set up a meeting, absolutely. I'm happy to meet with students and or parents.
Awesome. Well,
the one thing I just want to quickly add is the fact that I'm glad you're having them look at different ways on how the world is changing, but then also on inventing and creating new things. The one thing we do well at the University of Delaware is entrepreneurship, and I'll share a flyer with you, Kristen, to share with everyone. We have the #1 ranked high school entrepreneurship program called the Diamond Challenge. It's like Shark Tank for high school students. So if you are interested in helping better the world through business or social innovation, that's one way as a high school student, you can actually begin right now. But thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. If there are any other lingering questions, I'm happy to answer them as a part of our Futurology team at CUSD-Futurology@capousd.org. Thank you so much to our lovely participants for being here today, and this recording will be uploaded later this week.
Thank you.
Awesome.